Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you information with regards to the sports all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That basically works for Twitter and Instagram. But anyways, we'll go to the headlines first. Alright, from the world of cricket, Pakistan beat South Africa in the third ODI by 28 runs, winning the series 2-1. And yes, from the world of football, Chelsea wins against FC Porto 2-0 on Thursday. And from the world of golf, the Masters tournament has begun in Augusta National Golf Course. And from the world of tennis, French Open is set to postpone by a week, and it will start from the May 30th to June 13th. And yes, those were the headlines. And not to forget that, Pakistan is still touring South Africa, and many congratulations to him, Babar Azam to begin with, and the entire team. Why? Because they finally managed to take the series of the ODI. There were 3 ODIs, and Pakistan managed to win that by 2-1. And not to forget Fakhar Zaman's amazing performance during these times, and obviously Babar Azam and the entire team's super performance made us to come to this point of victory. But anyways, to discuss the entire series, because there are T20s coming up your way from South Africa very soon as well. There are going to be 4 matches of the T20s. To discuss this, we have with us Hassan Raza. Hassan was an ex-cricketer. He's a great person to talk to. I'm sure he will add in wisdom. Sir, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. How are you?
I am good myself. So, yes, first things first, congratulations on the victory of Pakistan for the ODI series. How do you see this development for the future of Pakistan cricket?
The future is remarkable before the World Cup because they're a good combination, the Pakistan team, bowling and batting especially. Batting from one of the finest players. He come back from his career, really career. Fakhar Zaman, he played from PSL in Lahore Qalandar, and from batsman. Then he improved himself in one-day cricket squad as well. So he played from 2 centuries, consecutive ODI in South Africa.
Right.
That's all about teamwork. They are working very hard since 5-6 months because of COVID-19. From about the cricket and sports activities, it's very difficult to reach kind of any world like South Africa or Pakistan. So they have a good combination with the Pakistan team, especially Babar Azam. They are very gel together with the boys like Rizwan. They have a keeper, batsman, so rotation with the Sarfaraz. The Sarfaraz gave him a chance last Monday, ODI series, so he took some good catches behind the stumps. So that's why that's a remarkable combination with the team.
Right. And thinking about the entire perspective of Pakistan traveling to South Africa and going through those hard conditions, because obviously when we travel, obviously the home team or the home ground owners have more of the edge because they know more about the conditions of the area. But Pakistan managed to go there, and then Pakistan being into quarantine and then practicing and then coming up to a point of clinching the series of the ODIs, because when South Africa was here, it was a completely different ball game. They lost the entire series from Pakistan. So I was very skeptical with regards to how our boys will perform when they will be in South Africa, but I think they've been doing a tremendous job.
I think they have an unexperienced team from this series. The last series you've seen in Karachi Test match, they're winning combination with the South African team.
Right.
Maharaj is a left-arm spinner. Some of the young guys, they're playing from the South African team. They don't have experience like better in Pakistan players. They have a big experience like Fahim Ashraf. Consecutively is playing from Pakistan team, especially for them. They have a good, huge 5 players continue playing from the last 2-3 years for the country.
Right.
So that's the problem from a lack of confidence of the bowlers. Have you seen the last one-day matches against South Africa, Centurion last? They win the series, but there's 2 short balls. The bowlers not live up for the good bowling. Especially they don't have a name from the South African team. Fast Duplessis is not playing. So that's why they depend on Peacock. That's the one as guy. So once a time, one player playing from good performance. Otherwise, we need to be combination with the Pakistan team, like any kind of team South African. So that's the collapse about the South African cricket team. They lose the series against Pakistan.
Right. And talking about obviously the pitch, if we talk about the conditions in South Africa, they're actually very, very different in terms of the conditions in Pakistan. So I think South Africa did have that edge, but not to forget that in the last ODI, many of the players were missing. Notte was missing, Rabada was missing, Duplessis was missing. So there were so many players; those were missing. Some were missing for the fact that because of injury. Some were missing for the fact that they had to go for the IPL. So what's your take on that? Because we still have 4 T20s coming up as well.
If you see the past 90s in cricket and world cricket, one of the every each team in Sri Lanka or South Africa or Pakistan, 5 or 6 players, main player playing from the good combination in the country. But these days there are so many leagues in the world, so that's why some of the players retired about the Test cricket or ODI careers for the country. That's why they're playing from IPL, they're playing from PSL, they're playing from Cardiff cricket in the world. So that's a huge difference about the country. If they are playing from upcoming players, they don't have experience from the international level.
Right.
So that's the difference about the South African team. They lose the one-day ODI series because of new captaincy from the South African side. So once time in 90s, the Graham Smith was the captain. He's a remarkable player as well. Liam McKenzie and Jonty Rhodes are all playing from South Africa as a huge team from 90s.
Right.
But this time they have upcoming players, so they need to be more experienced about the international level career. So that's why the winning positions continue to the South African team.
Right. And looking back into South Africa, as you just mentioned, you talked about Jonty Rhodes, you talked about, I'm honestly telling you, I've always seen them struggle. But lately, I've seen them probably giving up because I don't see that energy level of the South Africans. Something is missing. Maybe something internally going on, because when we talk about their body language, even when we talk about De Kock's body language when he was in Pakistan as a captain, I think after that he wasn't really well. He had some issues with regards to the mental health issues of the COVID-19 and being under quarantine for so much time, so much longer. So how do you see them? Because in the middle order batsmen, they were still struggling and they were still trying. But then there is some specific thing that is missing in the South African teams. Maybe you could probably have an idea what it could be.
Definitely, they have. That's why I'm talking about the different kind of players like in the world. They're playing from different leagues. So that's why they don't have a big name from the South African team last past in the 90s.
Right.
So they developed from the good cricket in South Africa because huge name in South African cricket. If you see the 1992 World Cups, Alan Donald, Sean Pollard, and so many. Falenter, even he's a good fast bowler as well. So he's not playing from the one-day and test. So that's the reason about the international level from cricket. So they need to be preparation from the international level cricket experience. So we've seen the last ODI series. They don't have any experience. Maharaj, only left-arm spinner from South Africa.
Right.
It's not very promising. He's not playing from too much cricket in South Africa from international level.
Right.
So they need to be more experienced from the international level cricket. Especially wickets was there in South Africa, very flat pitches. You've seen the Fakar Zaman and the Babar Azam, they're playing from ball to ball, according to the cricket positions, according to the outswing and in bowling. And they play from every kind of shots, like cut shots and pull shots.
Right.
So that's a different about the experience to get international level. And too much pressure about the Babar Azam, but he's a number one ranking from these days about the last 2-3 years, consecutive runs from the Pakistan cricket. So it's very good luck from the whole players who learned from Babar Azam, from Fakar Zaman, and especially upcoming test matches in Zimbabwe.
Right.
So their preparation about the Zimbabwe series as well.
Right. Talking about learning from experiences and stuff, if we look back, I want to specifically talk about A.B. de Villiers. I think A.B. de Villiers was one of the phenomenal players in South Africa in the Proteas, but obviously him announcing his early retirement, nobody truly knows what actually came up to his head to just quit the game. And even if he had quit the game, I think he should have imparted the knowledge to the young Proteas who actually want to represent South Africa.
Yeah, definitely. A.B. de Villiers is a big name from South Africa. Remarkable one-side matches winning from the South African time and South African team. So that's why you're talking about the leagues. So many leagues in the world. So that's a player early on from retirement from that league. So they need to be preparation about the South African cricket. So they need to 2-3 years more, like big names again come back to the national team. And they're playing some good cricket experience players was there. Like if you've seen Sri Lanka Muleedharan and so many, they took 500 wickets, almost 400 wickets in Test cricket and ODI. So that's the big difference about South Africa. South Africa has a big name as a fielder, as a batsman. Graham Smith, I've talked about so many players. That's why they continue to the good experience. They need to be come back from the South African squad and come back in with the losing against Pakistan or any kind of team.
Right. So, what's your take on the upcoming T20 matches? Obviously, now that we've managed to win the ODI series, and not to forget that player of the series was Fakhar Zaman and player of the match was Babar Azam. We're talking about the last match. But what's your take? How confident do you think our team will be with regards to the T20s?
Obviously, T20 World Cup, especially World Cup coming to India as well. So 50 overs, any kind of World Cup in series. So they need preparation in Pakistan from longer cricket because they are struggle about last test series against New Zealand in New Zealand. So that's why they have a good huge advantage from the Pakistan cricket. They win the series in South Africa. Otherwise, they win 90s and 80s. You go to South Africa over there, so it's difficult to bat down over there or this kind of pitches, this kind of situation or weather. Now they have proof, Babar Azam especially and Fakhar Zaman, they play some positive cricket over there. So they are preparation about the test cricket now. Azhar Ali come back from the test cricket. And then Fawad Alam, they come back from the test cricket. So they have a huge good slot with the Pakistan cricket, middle order batsman and bowlers combination. So let's see before the World Cup, they are winning position to the team. So let's see how they pull up about coaches. Yunus Khan, especially good guidance about the kids over there. And skills, so many skills they give him to transfer from like when he played Yunus Khan, 200 runs and one-day cricket.
Right.
So very good improvement from the Pakistan batting side.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's talk more about the bowler side as well. I mean, like, when we talk about Shaheen Shah Afridi, when we talk about, obviously, we've talked about Hassan Ali, when we talk about Mohammad Nawaz or even Usman Qadir, we are seeing a lot of emergence of talent, and the talent who's actually learning slowly and gradually and getting there, trying to ensure that, you know, when they play against any team, they can get hold of them right on.
Yeah, obviously, they have a good chance from Usman Qadir. Recently, he played from last 2-3 years playing some Big Bash League over there.
Right.
He's a father, legendary Abdul Qadir. He's very happy, but he's not here in the like in living life. He's died about last year, about the month.
Right.
But he's a very godful, big name. So that's why I keep giving the name from Multan Sultan. He took 2 wickets in T20 squad against Zimbabwe, against series. So good improvement from the Pakistan bowling side, especially Hassan Ali come back from the last 2 years. Because of injury. So
Right.
He's a good slot. He took 37 runs innings last one day. So that's a good combination with the Pakistan team, especially bowling. Shaheen Shah Afridi bowled very well.
Right.
Especially like Fahim Ashraf, he's a good all-rounder from Pakistan side. So
Absolutely.
let's see, give him the chance, give him the series, upcoming matches, then win. And definitely they good win from Pakistan cricket.
Well, sir, thank you so much, Hassan Raza, for being a part of the show and
Thank you.
sharing your point of view, Ji.
Pleasure. Thanks.
All right.
Pleasure.
So that was obviously our legendary Hassan Raza, who has actually spoken about how the team has actually improved, and they're actually trying to get there, and they want to be strong. Why? Because they're preparing themselves for not only for the World Cup when it comes to T20, but obviously for the World Cup internationally. But anyways, this was pretty much it with regards to the world of cricket. What we'll do is we will take a quick break, and once we take the break, we will be back and discuss more of the sports. Anyway, see you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back from the break. And before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket. Yes, there have been major successes to begin with. Obviously, Pakistan winning against the Proteas 2-1. So we focused more on that, but we'll not only talk about that. There's so much more with regards to the world of sports. So anyways, to discover and talk more about sports, let me just tell you who the next guest is. So we have Mr. Colin Watt with us, who's a podcaster and a host of Football Insomniac show on A State of Mind. Anyways, he's here all the way from Glasgow. Welcome to the show, Colin Watt.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Great, great. So Colin, first things first, we'll talk about the recent matches that actually took place, and then we can further discuss the standings at the Premier League. We'll talk about Chelsea's win against FC Porto, 2-0, but not to forget that before this, the last match that actually took place, they eventually lost. So what's your take on this current victory and the one that they lost the last time?
It's certainly a great bounce-back victory for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel. I mean, that performance at the weekend was completely against everything that we've seen since Tuchel took over at Chelsea. They've just completely collapsed after the sending off of Thiago Silva.
Right.
But it's typical of his sides to bounce back, and that performance last night is exactly what you've come to expect of them since he's taken over. A great 2-0 victory in what is classed as the away leg, with ties being played in Spain at the minute due to the current ongoing coronavirus situation. But 2 fantastic goals for Chelsea last night, and I think that really puts them in prime position to qualify for the next round of the tournament.
But what about the match that took place before this? We talk about West Ham, if I remember, they actually broke that magical spell of Thomas Tuchel's, wisdom, and being after him being a manager, there was a consecutive victory when we were looking at Chelsea's progress. But that one match that actually took place, and it was out of a surprise. So, what's your take on that loss? And obviously, once again, they've started winning again. But the specific loss that actually happened that day, what was the major defect or the thing that actually brought Chelsea to that point?
I think that the game against West Brom at the weekend, the 5-2 defeat, was certainly, as I said, it was out of character for a Thomas Tuchel team to concede that amount of goals. I think it's only the first time in the last sort of 5 or 6 years that Chelsea have conceded that amount of goals at Stamford Bridge. And I think the sending off of Thiago Silva really started the downfall there. You saw West Brom scoring at ease on the counter-attack, and even for a team of Chelsea's stature, you think they should be able to play with 10 men, but it just didn't seem to click for them, and everything that West Brom did turned into goals, and you've got to credit them for that. They're fighting for their survival at the bottom of the Premier League. So Sam Allardyce, some people said that he wasn't the right man for the job, but he's never been relegated as a coach. Can he get West Brom out of that bottom three that they find themselves in? Victories like that will certainly help.
Right. So, but anyways, let's hope. Obviously, their direction is absolutely fine. If we look back, Chelsea doing this back then, when Chelsea was obviously at at the break-even point, and Frank Lampard was actually heading the entire thing, and instantaneously when he leaves, and this coach comes in with this all his positive energy and the vibe, and the entire team's chemistry changes. What was that Frank Lampard was missing? Obviously, besides the fact he was a great footballer, but what exactly, in your opinion, was what was missing in his coaching side?
I just think he wasn't getting the best out of his summer signings. Now, Chelsea had spent a lot of money in the summer. I believe it was over £200 million signing guys like Timo Werner and Ziyech from Ajax, and it just hadn't really clicked for Chelsea at that point. Tuchel has managed to get the best out of some of those players so far, and someone that's had a complete transformation over the last few weeks is midfielder Mason Mount. Right. It was someone that I had a real doubt about. I thought he was really just one of Frank Lampard's boys. He had him on loan at Derby, brought him back in and rushed him into the Chelsea first team. But he's really shown the talent that he's got, and his goal was taken very well yesterday. And I think when you see the likes of Mount, Ziyech, even Timo Werner, although he's not scoring the amount of goals that you expect him to score, it really is starting to gel together, and I think Chelsea are really pushing for that top 4 spot now.
Right. And talking about, as we discussed, the next match that I'm going to talk about will be obviously the Bayern Munich versus PSG. But when we talk about PSG, if you look back into how the series of events took place, that from this very moment now, that Chelsea is obviously looked after by Thomas Tuchel. But I think before this, he was associated to PSG, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Yes.
So
he was the previous manager.
Yes, the series. Yes. So the series of events have come up to that point that he specifically leaving the PSG at that very moment when Frank Lampard had to leave, and they wanted a replacement for Chelsea, and then instantaneous victories for Chelsea.
Yes, you always get that bounce effect when you bring in a new manager.
Right.
And I don't think Frank Lampard was doing that bad a job at Chelsea. I just don't think he was managing to get the players that he'd brought in to settle. But you know what happens when players don't play for the manager, eventually their performances suffer, and they weren't in the position that they wanted to be considering the money they spent. Getting into that Champions League spot is so important for a team like Chelsea, especially at the minute when they're not able to get fans into the stadium, when revenues it's been stretched to its limits right now.
Right.
That money that you get in from playing in European football is crucial, and Abramovich saw the opportunity to sort of really push for the Champions League spot. He brought in someone that was very competent in Thomas Tuchel, and it seems to have really paid off for him.
Right. So anyways, the series of events actually went on a positive Chelsea. So let's talk about the next match that I discussed, Bayern Munich losing against the PSG on Wednesday. What's your take on that one?
I have to say that was one of the most exciting games of football that I have seen all season.
Right.
Bayern Munich threw absolutely everything at Paris Saint-Germain, and unfortunately they just got caught out on the counter-attack one too many times. Right. The first goal from Kylian Mbappe, I think Manuel Neuer would love to have that back again. He was beaten at his near post, the ball kind of squirmed under him, and that set the tone for the game. It was end to end. I believe Bayern Munich had almost 35 chances,
right,
which is incredible for a 90-minute game. But you take a look at it, if you give Kylian Mbappe that amount of time and that amount of space in front of goal, he is going to punish you. And if the 90 minutes is the same again on Tuesday, then it will definitely be one to watch.
Yes, and when it comes to Mbappe, obviously it's his 8th Champions League's goal this season, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
actually going in the right direction in terms of an experienced football, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I believe he's now the second highest French goal scorer in the Champions League when it comes to knockout ties, only just behind Karim Benzema. And for a man that is still so young and still has so much to offer to the game, it just tells you his career is ready to skyrocket.
Right. And even if we talk about Mason Mount from Chelsea, he actually became the youngest ever goal scorer in the Champions League knockout match. He's like 22 years old, if I'm not wrong.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're seeing so much talent out there and growing super big.
Yeah, you take a look at it, you've got Mason Mount at Chelsea, you've got Phil Foden at Manchester City, Kylian Mbappe at Paris Saint-Germain, you've got Erling Haaland at Dortmund. The future is coming through and it looks really bright, and there's certainly a lot of talent out there.
Right. But, talking about the future, if we focus more on the now, the situation due to the coronavirus situation and the COVID-19 situation, things have not been up to the mark, and it's very difficult for the players to, get themselves back into the new normal. If we talk about home matches, when, there was a difference between two matches, one match in your own stadium and then you go to the other stadium. But the point is, if the stadium is empty on both the places, how would you get that energy and that aura of the people in the sportsmen?
I think when it comes to these professional sports people, they have to show that level of professionalism. Everyone wants to win the Champions League. When you're younger and you're growing up and you want to become a footballer,
Right.
You always dream of winning the Champions League for your own team.
Right.
I certainly did it as a Celtic fan. I've always dreamed of Celtic winning the Champions League, although that seems very unrealistic in the current terms. But,
Right.
I mean, Mbappe, Haaland, they've all had these dreams. And when you're coming up and playing against the elite players in Europe, you certainly up your game. I was listening to the commentators last night that were saying that Paris Saint-Germain have now lost, I believe it's 8 games in the French Football League this season.
Right.
You wouldn't believe that watching them last night. They show that they are still one of the best teams in the world. And last night's game, a repeat of last season's Champions League final, it just showed that the quality that was on show was unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks so very much, Colin, for being a part of the show and adding wisdom to the world of football.
It's been a pleasure having been able to be on the show, guys. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Pleasure. Anyway, so that was major updates with regards to the world of football. And yes, there are major developments when it comes to the amazing players actually scoring for them. And there's a lot of new talent that, as we were discussing, and Colin also said that, there's so much new talent coming out there, even though we still have the coronavirus situation all across the globe. But these professionals need to practice themselves with the new normal. Anyways, we'll quickly jump over to the next news of the day, and let's talk about golf. Yes, let's talk about golf. And with regards to golf, Masters tournament has begun in Augusta National Golf Course. And not to forget that this was the tournament due to which initially DeChambeau decided to, and all the leading people decided not to, because they wanted to participate in this one. So McIlroy and DeChambeau are also will be under the spotlight during the Masters. And not only that, DeChambeau doesn't have a good luck track on the Augusta National. And Robert McClurty is also appearing for the first time in the Masters. So I think all the top-notch players are actually fighting for this now, and slowly and gradually, as soon as it develops more, we'll surely tell you guys what's truly coming your way. Anyways, final news that I would want to give to you guys would be from the world of tennis. Yes, from the world of tennis, the French Open is set to be postponed by a week. Obviously, it's the still situation of the coronavirus. Slowly and gradually, they're trying to do things, but to accommodate people and the sportsmen who are actually traveling is becoming very, very difficult. But anyways, it will be taking place. It will take place from the May 30th to June 13th. And Nadal will also be bidding to win the 14th French Open title. Not to forget that he's had a rough time in the last tournament as well. But hopefully he surely wants that title, because it would be his 14th French Open title. And it was, like I said, it was rescheduled because of the pandemic, and the situation of coronavirus is still out there. They're still trying their level best to control that, and all the athletes who would come, they need to be in the strict quarantine of the situation and scenarios. But let's hope all goes well. Anyways, guys, this was pretty much it with regards to the world of sports. If you guys want to reach to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. Till then, take good care of yourself, and bye-bye.